The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello, and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Boucher, joined by my good buddy David Menkoff here to break down this wonderful January 14th. It's a Thursday. We've got 5 games on our hands. A lot of news to keep track of. And that just seems like going to be the regular. It's going to be the norm going forward. So just keep that in mind. And maybe temper your expectations in your play if you're not going to be following that news up to the T. Between injuries and health protocol, we have a lot going on. But one thing I know for certain is Dave is here. He has passed the health and protocol. He is good to go. He is not out. No quarantine needed right now for Dave. He's on the podcast. But how's my good buddy over there doing?
Doing well. Exciting. Definitely excited times where we're living in now with all these protocols, and it makes for interesting DFS slates every night. So looking forward to breaking down a nice little card we have.
Absolutely. But before we jump into anything, just a quick shout out to mybookie.ag. And ever since I started this podcast, people ask me, who do you bet on? Is it NBA? It could be, could be a Clippers-Lakers game. Who are you taking if they're fully healthy? And I say it's not about who you're taking. It's about where you're betting. That is the most important. I tell people to go to my bookie. Their reputation is rock solid. They get the best odds, contests, and promotions in the business. There's plenty of other bookie sites out there, but my bookie stands out. And if you ever have any issues, their customer service is absolutely fantastic. They're the only place I trust to handle my NBA-related bets. The one and only sportsbook guaranteed to give me the best lines for every single game. We have NFL playoff games coming right around the corner. We got NBA games going on every single night right now. And you know me, I don't give my stamp of approval out there very easily. To earn it, you've got to be the best at what you do. And my bookie is the best sportsbook that there is. So, period. Stamp of approval is there. It's that simple. Sign up over there, guys. And when you sign up, use that promo code HOOPBALL, HOOPBALL. And you'll get a 50% deposit match on up to $1,000. So if you put in $1,000, they'll give you $500, free money that you can play with. So check it out, guys. And while you're at it, go check out Manscaped. Absolutely fantastic company, and they have a refined cologne. So you guys hear me talk about every single product that they have, and they do have a very unique scent, and it's on their body wash, it is on their aftershaves, it's on every single product they have. And the cologne is absolutely fantastic too. So this is something I just received. And guys, if between the Perfect Package 3.0 for all your below the waist grooming needs, and maybe it's a gift for somebody else, the cologne, they have it, the entire kit. And one thing I think is really cool that you can do with their stuff, it's a good travel kit. You can use it every day at your house, but you can also use your Manscaped travel kit. You have everything ready to go. Maybe you're staying at a hotel. You want to bring everything with you. You have the cologne. You have the body wash because, we all know that the hotel body wash isn't the best. You have the trimmer. You have your nose and hair trimmer. You have everything that you need just to keep it going, and then you can just easy towing. Take it with you. So, guys, go check out Manscaped. Use that promo code HOOPBALL20, HOOPBALL20 over at Manscaped. You get 20% off plus free shipping. That's what makes it worth it. All. The products are fantastic, but get the free shipping, get the 20% off, and enjoy yourself. So, Dave, mouthful. I feel like I need a little drink of water. I'll wait till I pass it over to you to take it, though. We have 5 games to talk about. It's been an eventful night. We're both sweating a little bit right now. We both got some pretty heated lineups going, so maybe by the end of this we'll be a little bit closer to finding out where those are. Nonetheless, the first game on the slate, Miami Heat going against the Philadelphia 76ers. Not a chance this game's going to have a total or spread with everything that's going on in it, and I think that's rightfully so, and you guys got to expect that going forward, that we're not going to have a lot. But the injury report tells all, and as of right now, when we're recording this the night before, it's telling us that Bam, Avery Bradley, Jimmy Butler, Goran Dragic, Maurice Harkless, Udonis Haslem, Kendrick Nunn, KZ Akpala, and are all out, and then Myers Leonard's doubtful. He's everybody that was out that I just said, health and safety protocol. Myers Leonard, the only one dealing with an actual injury, and then we also have some injuries and some news going on the Sixers. We have Seth Curry out for health and safety protocol. Joel Embiid, Terrence Ferguson, Tobias Harris, Shake Milton, Ben Simmons, and Matisse Thybulle are all probable. And Vincent Poirier and Furkan Korkmaz are ruled out as well. So a lot to keep track of, a lot of value that was taken advantage of in the last one. But the Sixers are pretty much looking like they're good to go. But what are you looking at over here on the Miami team?
Yeah, you definitely nailed it. This is one of the more interesting games of the 5-game slate, just due to the plethora of injuries. And they just played each other. So there's certainly something to be said about going back to the well on some of the guys in the Heat side. And some of the pricing hasn't really jumped to the levels we expected after that absolute score fest in the previous matchup. So for me, I'm looking at some of the guards. Gabe Vincent, his price tag is gone up to 4,200, which, on this 5-game slate is quite an increase from his previous game where he was absolutely rock bottom minimum. But I love him in this match. He played 36 minutes in the previous game, played and had 36 fantasy points. So, based on those kind of numbers, he can absolutely hit value, especially given all of their lack of depth on the Heat side. Another guy I'm really looking at in that backcourt is Tyler Hero, a guy that's, given the keys to the offense even more now, given all of the plethora of COVID-related incidents / injuries. So Tyler Hero is absolutely going to be in play for me. He's priced up a little bit, 7,300, his highest price tag he's had all season. But, coming off an absolutely phenomenal game where he pushed 49 fantasy points, played 39 minutes in that overtime game. So I love him in this matchup as well. And then I'm also going to have some pretty good looks at some of the front court guys as well. Precious Achiuwa is a guy that I absolutely love, more for dynasty reasons, but for DFS, finally got an opportunity in the last one and absolutely proved himself. Second coming of Bam Adebayo. I'm calling it right now. 17 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and on a block in 36 minutes on efficient shooting. Absolutely in play for me, 4,400. He's going to be absolutely a staple of a lot of my lineups. Kelly Olynyk, 6,400. I won't have as much interest in, but certainly going to be in play, just given the matchup, given how limited the Heat have in terms of personnel in this kind of game. And he's also coming off a monster game where he put up 37 points, which isn't that necessarily great, but he absolutely has an opportunity to really exceed value in this matchup. So there's a bunch of guys that I really love on this side of the ball. What about you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much on like a lot of the same guys. I mean, with the limited rotation, we have to have interest in these guys. Blowout can probably be expected, and if it happens, doesn't matter. A lot of these guys are still gonna have to play. So you said it, number one play on the board, and probably gonna be pretty chalky. It's gonna be it's gonna be Precious. Precious Achiuwa has been absolutely fantastic. I like your comp saying second coming of Bam. It's very, very accurate. Similar profiles, played at similar schools at college as well. So. I do like that 4,400. Still not priced up enough. I'll definitely have some shares. Hero 73. He did get a nice price bump up from 67 in that last one. He's still worth it at this. It's definitely a different matchup. Now that we have Ben Simmons, hopefully he's not as terrible in this game. But we're also getting Tobias Harris back. We're getting Shake Milton back. We're getting a few of these other guys back. So it's going to be a little bit harder for this Miami team. So, if you wanted to, fade Hero, I guess I could see it. I still think he's an absolutely fantastic play. He's another person that's going to be probably highly owned. Both those guys, Gabe Vincent, 4,200, he's going to be stepping into at least 30 minutes again. He is coming into this game with an injury tag. He's probable at this point, so I'm not, necessarily too worried about it. But he's another guy that I don't have minds. You can really realistically play every single one of these guys. They're all going to be in play for me. If you wanted to play Duncan Robinson, sure. But the guys I see myself having the most share of would be Hero, Achiuwa, and I think I'll probably have maybe a share or two of some Gabe Vincent down there too. He won me some money the other night, so I think it would only rightfully so if I went back to the well here and there. So Philadelphia side of the ball though, with everybody healthy, what are you anticipating and who are you looking at?
Yeah, on the Sixers side of the ball, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't expect with all these guys coming back a lot of that, opportunity and momentum that some of the guys like Tyrese Maxey, who's been absolutely playing out of his mind, given all the plethora of guys unavailable. I don't expect that to continue necessarily. He's priced up only slightly, 5,600 after a 33-point game. Again, with the return of Shake Milton, who's going to necessarily get touches, Tobias Harris as well. I just don't foresee a scenario where Tyrese Maxey can really hit that value. So he's not really going to be in play for me in this type of matchup. Also, Shake Milton as well, 5,200 coming back. I don't know if I'll have too much interest in him. His price tag, coming back from a COVID-related health protocol, I'm just not as confident in him as well. So for me, it's really going to come down to if this game gets out of hand, who's really going to get potentially the bulk of the offense and the usage right away to really get this game out of hand, and that's going to be Joel Embiid. 10,000. I fully expect him to have another huge game, and even in a blowout type of scenario, he is priced a little bit high, but I think that he is someone that's going to be unstoppable for the Heat throughout this game and in this matchup. So he's probably my favorite play on the Sixers side. I'm not going to have too many shares of Tobias Harris, 7,900 coming back again. Just not sure he's going to have the rhythm that he needs to really make an impact in this type of game. So outside of that, it's really Danny Green is another guy, 5,700, coming off an absolute barn burner game where he put up 61 fantasy points, completely outrageous performance. He's priced up to 5,700. I don't expect another game where he puts up where he makes 9 out of 21 threes, where he has the green light from everywhere in this country. So I just don't foresee that happening in this scenario. So that's pretty much it for me. I'm sticking with Joel Embiid, and that's pretty much it in this matchup. What about you?
I'm not playing anybody in this game. We're on the complete opposite page. I'm not playing anybody outside of maybe a share or two of Shake Milton. So we're completely opposite angles, I think, on this one. So, I think Embiid's going to absolutely crush in this matchup, no doubt about it. But the Sixers have been playing so many games as of late. They're going to want to give this dude a rest eventually. It wouldn't shock me if it's in this game with some other people coming back. Nonetheless, even if he does play and they just start smoking him, he's going to be one of the first guys that ends up sitting down as well. So I think with Milton, I'm not necessarily worried about the health and safety protocol. I think he's going to come back, probably play his normal minutes. And with Seth Curry, who's still ruled out, he should continue to play shooting guard. And at 5,200, it's a solid price tag against a bunch of second unit guys over there in the Heat. So that's pretty much all I'm looking at over there. We'll keep it moving to the next game. Charlotte Hornets going against the Toronto Raptors. This game does have a spread and a game total, 224 game total. Toronto favored by 7 in this one. As far as injuries are concerned, that we don't have. Actually, no, we do. Hornets haven't submitted yet, but we know that Gordon Hayward was ruled out, got hurt his hip in the third quarter, strained hip. So he's going to probably and most likely sit out this game. Obviously, we're going to have to talk about how that affects some people who kind of sees extra minutes, extra usage, and all that good stuff. And then Patrick McCaw is ruled out, but he's not necessarily a factor. So I'll pass it over to you, Dave, on this Hornets side of the ball. What are you really looking at?
Yeah, on the Hornets side of the ball, you mentioned it. We have to definitely monitor the Gordon Hayward news before we make a decision. Obviously, the Hornets are going to be on the second game of a back-to-back, so that's also something to keep in mind. I really like, go back to the LaMelo Ball. He did absolutely drown me in most of my lineups tonight. He had as one of his rare outings where he has not performed to his standards, but priced up a slightly 7,600, certainly has 40 to 50 point potential given the matchup, given the opportunity, especially with the additional usage potentially with the Gordon Hayward injury. I love LaMelo Ball, and I think he's going to be fairly low owned after he burned a lot of owners tonight. I also like on the Hornets side, PJ Washington. He's a guy that is continuing to get opportunity to get heavy minutes for the Hornets. He's been proving himself very viable, coming off some great games, putting up some absolutely strong numbers. In his last game tonight, actually, he put up 40 fantasy points. I love him, especially in this type of matchup against the Raptors, especially with Gordon Hayward out. Him and LaMelo Ball are probably my two favorite plays in the Hornets. I don't know if I'll have too much interest in Terry Rozier, 6,200, not really priced to a point where there's a lot of ceiling left at that price tag. And then I'm not going to have a lot of interest in Devontae Graham, although he has been playing better as of late, coming off a 38-point effort in his last one. He's priced at 6,000. This is an opportunity to potentially take some shots at Devontae Graham, but I'm going to really be focusing on PJ Washington and LaMelo Ball. What about you?
For me, it's simple for me. I'm going to be trying to take advantage of who's going to be stepping up for Gordon Hayward's absence. And, I think it's going to be two guys. Miles Bridges, 4,700. I expect him to probably be playing 28 to 30-something minutes. And then we have the Martin brothers between Caleb and Cody. I expect both these guys are pretty cheap. Caleb coming in at 3,300. He's been playing a solid rotation. He's been playing well this season as well, right around that 15, 17, 18-minute mark on the season. He's near minimum salary, so he's not a great point-per-minute guy. But I would expect him to play anywhere between 20 to 25 minutes, possibly even more. And, with that being said, he's near minimum salary. So I don't have a problem with either one of those guys. Those are probably the two guys that I'm going to be looking at the most. And then I would expect, between Rozier and Graham, these guys are going to have to make up for some of these shot attempts. And we know that Rozier is not shy. It is not a good matchup, but at 6,200 with the usage that he will have with Hayward off the floor, I definitely have some interest in him as well. That's it for me. On the Toronto side of the ball, this is interesting. I've been just milking Pascal Siakam. I loved it, and I was all over him in that last game, and it paid off well, the triple-double and all that. But now he's up to 8,500. It's a cakewalk matchup. He shouldn't have an issue with this one. That being said, that price tag is a little bit high, and there are some guys that we're going to want to spend up on in later games and possibly even in earlier games. So I do think he's in play. I think I prefer Van Vliet at 8,200. He's probably going to be my top play on this side of the ball. And then Chris Boucher is all the way up to 6,500. Now, if he's going to play 32 minutes, I don't have an issue with that. That being said, it's up and down. Over the past 4 games, 32, 24, 29, and 15 minutes. What does he finish at? We do not know. So GPPs only. I'm not going to trust him in cash. If he's playing 30-plus minutes, he has 40-point upside at that price tag in this matchup. So, again, only GPPs, not safe enough for cash. So that's it for me. Those 3 guys are my primary options. Who are you really looking at for Toronto?
Yeah, I'm actually we're in alignment on the Toronto side of the ball, I think. For me, I'm really looking at Fred VanVleet. You nailed it, 8,200, only at 100 more than Kyle Lowry in the backcourt. I always prefer his ceiling. I think he has more opportunity, and I think it's a great matchup against the Hornets. Again, especially then coming off a back-to-back set. So he's one of my favorite plays in this matchup. Chris Boucher, you definitely mentioned it, 6,500. Is a little pricey, but he's been absolutely playing out of his mind recently. And to your point, if he gets the minutes, he should absolutely smash in this matchup. So I actually like him. I might like him a little more than you, and from a cash perspective. He's probably my second favorite play of this game behind Fred VanVleet. So both of my favorite plays are on the Raptors side of the ball. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to have too many shares of OG Anunoby, 5,800. Just hasn't really shown enough. He's coming off a great game where he did have 32 fantasy points. I just don't know if there's enough of a ceiling there for OG Anunoby, and that's pretty much it for me on the Raptors side of the ball.
All right, buddy. I like that we're on a lot of the same page. Excuse my phone going off. Look at that. Let's keep it moving though. We have the Houston Rockets travel to San Antonio. Houston. Talk of the town. We didn't lead with it because we're going to talk about it. We buried the news. But obviously, everybody's day was shaken up a little bit with the news of the massive Blockbuster trade. That trade being James Harden going to the Brooklyn Nets. Then we have the Rockets acquiring Victor Oladipo. We have Karis LeVert going over to the Pacers. We have Jared Allen going over to the Cavs. Then we have a bunch of bum bags in between kind of getting swapped around between Torian Prince, Damian Kurix, or Rodion Kurix, I'm sorry, and some other guys that I guess don't necessarily matter for DFS necessarily, but I guess are worth monitoring going forward. Dante Exum, he's out. We're not worrying about him anytime soon, and a ton of picks. With that being said, the injury report. For Houston, Chris Clemens, Daniel House, Broderick Thomas, and John Wall all ruled out. Eric Gordon's questionable with left lower leg tightness. On the Spurs side of the ball, DeMar DeRozan's questionable for personal reasons. He was looking after his father, and I think he's expected to return, but he's questionable right now, so keep your eye on that. Derek White, as we know, left toe fracture out. Quindary Weatherspoon, Drew Eubanks, and Keita Bates-Diop out as well. So looking over on this Houston side of the ball, man, no James Harden, no John Wall. There's going to be a ton of usage that goes around, bottom line. Now, the Spurs are not the Spurs that they used to be. They're not the same team, but they can still easily handle this team without these main pieces. There's going to be a ton of usage. There's going to be a ton of value. With all that heat value that we talked about, this is going to be everybody else's go-to spot. So, DeMarcus Cousins, Christian Wood, 7,700, 4,700. We'd have to expect a ton of usage from these guys. Yes, they play the same position. They'll find a way to get them on the court at the same time. I think they'll find a way for both these guys to play minutes. So I think both these guys are in play. Cousins, obviously, a lot more risk associated with him. If this game does get out of hand, something's going to happen. But the main places that we have to kind of keep an eye on are also going to be in this backcourt. Who's really going to be playing point guard? If Eric Gordon, sits out of this game, it's basically going to have to get ran by, Ben McLemore and Sterling Brown. Daniel Nwaba will probably continue to play small forward. But between those, three guys, those guys are all under 3,400. And they're all going to have to play minutes if we don't see Eric Gordon play. If Eric Gordon does play at 5,100, he's a fantastic option because he can have the ball in his hands pretty much 80% of the time. So I'm going to be looking at some Eric Gordon. I'll probably have limited shares of Christian Wood. I do like him. I'm not going to go overboard on him due to the game script scenario. Probably won't fall on Cousins all that much. And then, if I hear that Gordon's out, even if Gordon plays, I think guys like, Nwaba, Brown, McLemore, they're in play. But they'd be very in play if we see that Gordon's out. So I'll pass it over to you and kind of get your takes over here on Houston.
Yeah, you definitely covered it. I think on the Houston side, there's so much potential value. And to your point, there's not even a single point guard really listed on the Houston side right now. If you look at DraftKings, for example. So that just pretty much tells the whole story and it comes to who's going to be the ball handler. So for me, I think, I'm going to have some shares of Sterling Brown. You called it. At 3,000, he's going to absolutely be in play as a potential bargain bin opportunity, just for sheer opportunity. He should get plenty of minutes, blowout or not, just because he has some playmaking ability. So I like him. Ben McLemore, 3,400, is certainly going to be in play as well, regardless of game script, of how this game ends up turning out. You definitely covered Eric Gordon is going to be absolute chalk, but I'm probably going to have to eat the chalk in this matchup, just given, the fact that they have to have offense from somebody on the Rockets side. And then you nailed it as well. Christian Wood, I'm going to have a lot of interest. I'm going to absolutely have to eat the chalk. Christian Wood at 7,700, a guy that is a real winner, I think, of this big trade, this blockbuster trade. He's going to get even more opportunity to really show his offensive abilities. So I fully expect him to have a monster game. Even if it ends up being a blowout, if he gets to 25, 30 minutes, he should be able to hit value. So I really like Christian Wood in this matchup. And that's pretty much it on the Houston side of the ball. I'm not going to have too many shares of David Nwaba. I know we mentioned DeMarcus Cousins. It's hard to trust DeMarcus Cousins, in this stage of his career with his limited minutes. Even if he has high upside per minute, because he always has an opportunity to get ejected out of any game. So that's always a risk for me. What about you?
No, I mean that's pretty much how I think we're on a lot of the same page. Cousins is one of the best point per minute players in the NBA right now. So it's if he were to be guaranteed those 20 or so minutes, I'd have no issues playing him. The ejection and all that could happen. There's no Morris brother in this game, so I'm not necessarily as worried about it though. So we'll keep it moving to the San Antonio side. I'll keep it very simple with this for me. I like a lot of these guys in this matchup. I'm worried about the whole game script as a whole. Not saying that they're just going to run out here and blow them out. But if DeRozan returns as well, we're going to see this usage kind of dip off a little bit for Aldridge and Murray. Murray's now priced up to 7,500. I love this matchup. Don't love that price tag. Kind of want him more along that low 7 range, 7'1", 7'2", 6'9" even. And I would be all over him. So I don't think I'm going to be playing too much Murray. I don't think I'm going to be playing too much Aldridge at 6,700. I don't think I'm going to be playing too much. Even Lonnie Walker, priced up to 56. We've talked about all the value available. I don't think we need to, if you land on these guys, sure, I don't mind it. But I'm not going to go out of my way to play any of these Spurs guys. How about it yourself?
Yeah, you definitely nailed it. It's really hard to judge, to really trust any of these Spurs guys, and then their price tags are climbing a bit. Even Lonnie Walker for the 600 is finally in the mid range of the 5,000s. I'm not a big fan of anyone on the Spurs side of the ball, just given how much of an opportunity. Even without DeMar DeRozan, I don't expect this game to stay particularly close. So I don't know if I'll have too many shares. Keldon Johnson might be worth a flyer, just given his age and his opportunity. I might have some interest in him, but for me, I'm going to be looking at, again, another value potential add is Devin Vassell, the rookie, has been playing a little bit better, starting to get some minutes, coming off a putrid game where he still put up almost 16 fantasy points in 22 minutes against the Thunder. I like him a lot, especially if he gets to 25, 30 minutes. I think he should be able to hit value, and he is going to be a great pivot opportunity from the chalkier Rockets value guys. So that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, my only worry with him though is with DeRozan back, does he play that same kind of minutes workload, or does that kind of get dialed back just slightly, knowing that obviously you got to feed DeRozan, top dog. So I don't know if we're going to get the minutes there for him and the opportunity. The best case scenario for Vassell, in my opinion, would be that this game gets out of hand. Even then, it's Pop's not a guy that's going to sit here and play. If a game gets out of hand, nobody's playing more than 26 minutes, 25 minutes. And we probably have, I don't know, 4 or 5 options of guys that are 4,400 or less. Just looking at this night before, that are going to play 30-plus minutes. So it's going to be tough for me to land on him, but I get it as a GPP. You're right. He's going to fly under the radar. I love him as a talent. I think he's one of the most NBA-ready guys that were in the draft. Between him and Halliburton, I thought those two guys were just ready to play right away. And Vassell, he just happens to play under Popovich. He doesn't do that over there. You gotta wait. You gotta earn it a little bit longer. Like 3 years as a backup, or 2, maybe 2 for Pop. But we'll move on to the next game, more exciting game, one that we actually have a game total for. Golden State Warriors traveling to Denver, take on the Warriors, take on the Nuggets. 230 game total. Nuggets favored by 7. As far as injuries, Gary Harris questionable for personal reasons. Michael Porter Jr. and Greg Whittington out. For the Warriors, Chris and Alan Samaliak both out as well. We'll start with this Golden State side of the ball, and I got to give credit where it's due. Andrew Wiggins has been playing phenomenal defense. He looks good in that last game, though. 5 blocks. Game before that, 4 blocks. That is not going to keep happening. That's a little bit out of the norm, despite how great of defense he's been playing, and I just hyped it. I get it. It's been great D. He's not going to keep blocking shots at that rate. So, to be honest, there's only a couple guys I'm really looking at on this Golden State side of the ball. This is going to be an interesting game. I don't mind keep playing some Draymond Green. He kind of looks like old Draymond. He's kind of getting these assists, these rebounds. He's chipping into multiple different ways without scoring at 5,400. Just seems like a smack dab good value play. I don't think I'll be playing too much Steph Curry. I don't mind the play. There's not too many priced up guys that are really gravitating towards on this slate. Nonetheless, if you wanted to play him, it's Steph Curry at 9,700. I think I would just spend up on Jokic on the other side of the ball. But nonetheless, he's a fantastic play. Those are the really only 2 guys I'm looking at on this side of the ball. How about yourself?
Yeah, you definitely touched on it. It's going to be interesting. You mentioned the game total. We actually have a high game total on this one. It's just hard to really trust anyone on the Warriors side. Andrew Wiggins is playing incredible defense, as you mentioned it. It's just hard for me, just in general, to play Andrew Wiggins, despite the defensive bump. He's almost at 7,000. I just don't foresee that, hitting value, especially in this tough matchup in Denver. It's going to be tough. Draymond Green is certainly going to be in play for me, 5,400. I've been rolling out Draymond Green consistently, waiting for that triple-double bubble to finally hit. Hopefully this is the game. I really expect this to be the game where he has an opportunity to get that triple-double. So I like Draymond Green a lot. And then I'll probably take some shots at James Wiseman, the rookie center. He's been playing, inconsistent basketball since his torrid start of the season. But at 4,300, another great value option and one of the rare value center options on this entire slate outside of Precious Achiuwa. I think he's going to be very much under the radar in this matchup. So I'm going to have some shares of James Wiseman here.
Yeah, he'd be an extreme pivot off of Precious. Like if you want to fade that ownership, and Precious is probably going to be 60%, 70% owned. So if you wanted to fade that, that's a good pivot. I also have the definite fear that Jokic just puts him in the dryer and just tortures this kid all night long. He's still learning on the fly. He's going to make mistakes, and Jokic will punish you, especially with his craftiness. I don't know if he's ever seen anything like that in his young age, but. We'll slide over to the Denver side of the ball. I think I gloated about Jokic enough at 11K. I don't care about this guy's price tag at this point. He's pretty much just like a walking triple double every single night, outside of a few games over the last week. But even in those games, he's got at least 60 points in 2 out of the last 4 games. It's a fantastic matchup. It's gonna be a high paced matchup. I'm good with Jokic. I'll play some Jokic. The other guys that we have to look at, Will Barton, 5,800, played well in that last one. Shot 8 of 14. Really didn't fill it up as much as anything else in the stat line. Got some steals, got the blocks, but 2 boards, 1 assist. I've been playing Barton, and it hasn't been doing well for me. And the rebounds just really haven't been there for him. And that's the big thing with Will Barton is we're used to seeing him pull down a good amount of rebounds, almost like Josh Hart would. So I'm not seeing those rebounds. So for now, I'm probably going to have to hold off on Will Barton. And if I'm looking at anybody else on this, it's going to be a couple of ancillary guys. I don't mind like a Monte Morris. And Jamal Murray, he can always cook. He does cook in these types of matchups. He's been struggling. Another guy that doesn't do much as far as rebounds and assists. But when the scoring's on, the scoring's on. Just not a guy I trust in cash or anything like that. I'll take a flyer on him, maybe just to correlate a lineup if I'm running it back against Steph without Jokic or something like that.
Yeah, that's an absolutely great call. I think you definitely nailed it. I think in terms of the value on the Nuggets, it's going to be hard. Will Barton, you called it 5,800. It's he's a guy that has been playing a little bit better recently. It's just really hard to really throw in Will Barton in this type of matchup. Monte Morris, you touched on it, a guy that should get plenty of opportunity for some reason. He's a guy that should get minutes in the mid-20s, especially if the game ends up being somehow a blowout. He should be able to get some heavy minutes. Jamal Murray has turned into an absolute shell of himself ever since his absolute bubble breakout. He's been underperforming. This could be a great opportunity for him to right the ship against the Warriors defense. I just don't foresee that happening in this matchup. So that's the reason why I'm not going to ask him to shares of Murray. And then Jokic is a lock and load as they come in this type of matchup. He should have a ceiling of 65 to 70. No issue with playing Jokic in this matchup. And that's pretty much it for me as well.
We will move on to the final game of the night. But before we do, pause the show. Well, after I talk about what I say, because if you pause it now, you're not going to hear me say it. So go check out, get the Bruise Letter. It is absolutely fantastic, guys. You heard me talk about it probably plenty of times, and it's not too late to sign up if you haven't jumped on it already. And why is that? Because it's free. It's not like you pay the same price out there. You're getting it for absolutely free. It's an email newsletter that's just filled with all the intimate fantasy nuggets from our founder over here at Hoopball, Aaron Brewski. It's exclusive content that can't be found anywhere else. And it's not on the website, not on a podcast, not on social media. It is only in an email newsletter. And you can sign up for it and get it for free. Just go to bit.ly/BruiseLetter2021 and sign up in 10 seconds. Again, the site is bit.ly/BruiseLetter2021. And then, guys, if you're not on the Fantasy Pass, if you're not taking advantage of our Discord over here at Hoopball, I don't know what you're doing at this point. This is one of the best deals you can get in the industry, especially the DFS Pass, only $199 per month, and you get complete access to everything that we have to offer between articles, Discord. You're already getting the podcast, but that's just a piece. This is an early look. You can get us right before lock. We have our pros in there, including myself, Santino, Dave, who's in there. We have everybody, Breton. I can keep going. The list goes on top of a bunch of listeners just kind of chatting it up, getting to know the slate a little bit before it begins. On top of that, we have the season-long part of it as well. So you can get the whole Fantasy Pass, get the whole kit and caboodle. You can even get the Wager Pass involved in there. Go check out Hoopball. That's hoop-ball.com. Click on the Fantasy Pass ad just below the main media wall. All right. Final game of the night. We have the Indiana Pacers traveling to Portland to take on the Blazers on the second half of a back-to-back as well. So those are the two teams on the second half of the back-to-back, Charlotte and the Blazers tonight. But we're going to start off with the Pacers here, Dave. They made a little
Yeah.
trade themselves. They got rid of Oladipo, shipped him off. He kind of said the writing was on the wall. He wanted to be out of there. And in my opinion, made a great move by getting Karis LeVert in return on a much better friendly deal. I'll lead off real quick. I'll get my Pacers takes out of the way real fast, and I'll let you take over. There's just one guy I'm going to gush over that I'm going to probably play a whole lot of. A little upset that he's priced up, but Aaron Holiday at 4,500. Karis LeVert's probably not going to be ready for this game. No Oladipo. We got to expect that he's going to probably start at the shooting guard. Portland's backcourt is absolutely porous and terrible. They bleed points. Brogdon will also be in play at 8,300. So between those two guys, those are the two primary positions I'm going to be targeting. I don't mind Sabonis at 95. I just talked about a couple other priced up guys I might have some shares in. So I just know I'm going to want some shares in this backcourt. So I'll leave it right there with just those two guys for me. If you want to look at Justin, sure, he'll probably get some extra run too. I just prefer Aaron, and I prefer some Brogdon.
That's short and sweet, I have to say. Especially you're calling Aaron Holiday. Definitely a guy that I was playing a lot last season. Now the cat's out of the bag after his breakout performance. 16 points, 12 assists. Just put up absolutely monster fantasy numbers. Almost 43 fantasy points at 3,300. He is priced up a little bit at 4,500, but it's a great matchup going up against the Trailblazers, going after a back-to-back set in this game. So I really like Aaron Holiday as well. And I don't think he's going to be too highly owned given all the other value plays on the slate. So he might be a great opportunity to really attack and get that ownership down. Malcolm Brogdon, 8,300. For some reason, priced down. I know he had an off game where he only 34 fantasy points against the Warriors in the last one. But in no circumstance, especially with the extra usage with Oladipo out, do I expect him to get anything under 40 to 45 fantasy points in this matchup. So I actually love him. He's my favorite play of this entire game. So I think he's going to be a great opportunity to really attack on the Pacers side. And then for me also, I'm going to have some interest in Sabonis. 9,500, yeah, that price tag is pretty high. But he's a guy that has been consistently putting up 45 to 60-point fantasy outputs. And again, in this matchup against Nurkic, potentially, I don't envision a situation where he's going to struggle too much. So I'm going to have some interest in Sabonis as well.
Yeah, I can't blame you. I mean, the dude's just been so rock solid. The model consistency so far this season, and even dating back to last season. And you just pretty much know what to expect. He's never really going to sink you. And he has that massive upside, and even triple-double upside for a big man, which is impressive. Something that we didn't necessarily see coming when he was originally drafted by OKC. But we'll slide it over to the Portland side of the ball. Dame Lillard probable on this one. Nurkic, somebody that we're going to have to monitor, obviously. And to be honest, I've been doing this pod, and I didn't even think about monitoring the news because we're on the air, and that's part of the business, part of the industry. Sometimes you make some sacrifices. I didn't even see if he played tonight. I didn't get to see that news. Did you happen to catch it?
Yeah, he's absolutely starting.
Okay, perfect.
With no restrictions, so just
all right. Well, this is a back-to-back, so that's something that we're gonna have to keep an eye on. If he makes it through this one, or if this game happens to get out of hand, and he doesn't have to force a big workload or anything, he's definitely in play for me at 5,300. Keep in mind his minutes are still going to be limited. It is a back-to-back. He's coming off an injury. He's not in game shape. You can't expect more than 25, 26 minutes out of him. But at 5,300, Nurkic can still get it done in that amount of price. Canner, only $200 less. It's tough when push comes to shove. I'll take the talent, and I'll go with Nurkic in that kind of situation. That's just me personally. And then when you look at McCollum, you look at Lillard, both these guys, they're in play. But, we just talked about Brogdon on the other side of the ball, 8,300. I think I'd rather play him over both these guys. And that's just it. The big Lillard game is coming. He's going to have one of these big blow-up games sooner rather than later, I'm sure. At 9,300, I think it's a fair price tag. I'd much rather play that than McCollum's 84. I've been getting burned by McCollum because he's one of those guys I don't touch. I'm expecting him to come down to earth, hopefully sooner rather than later before I keep losing money by not playing him. But that's it for me. It's going to be a little bit of Lillard, maybe a slight share or two in Nurkic. And then maybe if I'm super desperate, I'm trying to get a couple pivots in here, some Derrick Jones Jr., but that's it, man. There's just not a lot to like on the Portland side of the ball as opposed to the the Indy side of the ball.
Yeah, you definitely touched on it. It's tough, especially with the back-to-back situation. A lot of back-to-backs in this slate. So it's going to be very interesting. I think Yusuf Nurkic, if he gets 30, 35 minutes. I think he should absolutely smash that price tag is an insult to 300. He's a guy that's finally playing well outside of the injury scare. He's a guy that's been a consistent staple of my lineups. I really like him, especially in this type of matchup. He's one of my favorite plays. I'm going to have some interest in Robert Covington. I know he's priced at 5,000. He's been hovering around that 5,000 price tag. He has yet to really have a ceiling game. And I think this is an opportunity for him to really be able to let it fly and potentially get 4 or 5 threes, get his usual steals and be able to hit 30, 35 fantasy points. So I'll have some interest in Covington, not a whole lot. And then Lillard in 9,300, always in play, just rock solid at that price tag. I think he's going to be fairly high owned, and I like him more than Steph Curry, only $400 more. So I'm a big fan of Lillard in this matchup, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to have as much interest in CJ McCollum, although certainly going to be in play. He's been playing fantastic this season, but that's it for me.
I can't blame you. I think that's a great call on Covington too. He's going to have to play some big minutes in this matchup, and if he can stay out of foul trouble, he's gonna get a lot of court time. And when Covington gets court time, the steals, the assists, the boards, the blocks, they just start to rack up a little bit. Not necessarily the biggest score, but anything that he chips in and the shot happens to fall from deep, it's a bonus. It's a cherry on top. So I like that play. I like that call. I don't expect a lot of ownership to be near him. And even the Lillard over Steph pivot makes a lot of sense. I mean, both these guys are just lightning in a bottle. Getting them on the right night is the key. And it's tough. It's tough to gauge those nights. But I expect Steph Curry to be much higher owned, simply because some people are going to want to run it back with a Jokic Steph stack, knowing that we have all this value. Just go superstars and scrubs and just load up. So that's bound to happen. That's bound to be a very, very popular lineup selection, which is probably why I might end up off of it, but who knows? I'll end up building a ton of lineups. It's just going to be a fun site to do it. But that is it, guys. That is all we have for you. If you have a quick moment, though, give us a follow on Twitter. You can find me at Michael Patria, MikeApotria. Dave, why don't you let the good people know where they can find you?
You can find me at DMenk, MENK33.
Absolutely. And then while you're at it, give us a little 5-star, subscribe, thumbs up, notifications on, all over the place. Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify. We're everywhere. We really do appreciate it. It means a lot to us. We're trying to get those up there. Trying to get a couple more reviews. We're doing the math. We're seeing how many listeners we have, and we're seeing the reviews. Not even 10% on a daily listen. So, we get it. Not necessary. We appreciate you just listening and taking part in it, but we really do appreciate it if you give us a nice little thumbs up, rate, review. It means a lot to us. So from everybody over here at Hoopball, that is all we have for you. We'll be back tomorrow. Dave will be back, I believe, right? You'll be on with my good buddy Brenton, right?
Absolutely.
You guys have been crushing it. You guys are actually starting to become best friends and have your own thing. And it's upsetting me slightly because Brenton was my Sunday guy, and you were now I feel like a third wheel. I get you the day before, and I get sandwiched on the end of it. It's okay. We'll get over it nonetheless. But thank you guys for listening. From everybody over here at Hoopball, take care. Let's go crush some GPPs.
This has been a Hoopball presentation.